please welcome to the stage His Excellency Hamad Bouamed, President and CEO of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Abdullah Mohammed Al Alwa, CEO of the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, and Nadim Najjar, Managing Director for the MENA region of Thomson Reuters. Welcome everyone to this final session. I'd like to start this session by just reading out a few of the headlines I saw in the media this morning after day one of the conference. And there was a lot of media coverage. Here are some of the headlines. Islamic economy is crisis-proof was one of them. Islamic banking index launched, as we all saw. There were calls for a Sharia regulator from the central bank governor. That was written about. The economy minister urges stronger trade ties among Islamic countries. And of course, if you'd been here for Mohammed Yunus yesterday morning, there was the inevitable headline there, Nobel Peace Laureate blasts global banking system, was the headline from him. Let me just start with all that in mind as a backdrop. I'd like to ask each of you what you felt were the highlights of this conference. Let me start with you.
All right. First of all, allow me just to say I'm not an expert, so I think the experts really talked for the last couple of days. As a chamber, we are facilitator. With our colleagues here, we put this together to really put a platform where the experts and I would say the people who have interest in this to come and debate and discuss this important subject. Also, I didn't read the news yet, so you know better.
I gave you a potted summary just then.
You did. But one important thing, and I think it was just repeated, started the conference with and more or less ended the conference with that the Islamic economy can be more prudent than other economies or other, I would say, re-engineerings of financial services if it continues to base itself around real assets. So it's more of assets-backed, I would say, economy. That will make it more prudent. And all the studies, whether Thomson Reuters did or a few other entities, including the Chamber, we show that the prediction and, in fact, even the recent past, the growth in these different sectors being double, if not triple, the other similar sectors in traditional economies. So it has quite a good track record, and based on the facts and what it's really based for, it has hopefully good forecasts. And this is what we are trying to promote over here. If you will understand more about the Islamic economy, the different pillars of Islamic, whether finance or food industries or tourism, you can have better opportunities and more prudent growth. So these are the findings. And of course, I like the fact that people talking about people.
Yeah.
And going forwards, depending more on doing things around people will give you more of that. And this is where things about maybe consumers. And here we are talking about not only the Muslim population of 1.6 or 1.7 billions, more than 20% of the whole population, but it's more about humanity, the whole world actually. And you should give them something else that traditional, I would say, economies and services and products maybe are not offering yet.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Abdullah, let me ask you, and I'll put it this way. Are you happy that we are moving away from the what, which is what we were addressing back in 2013, to the how, which is ideally what we've been addressing 2015?
Thank you, Axel. Well, I certainly think that the platform that was created by the Global Islamic Economy Summit enabled us to have that dialogue, that how do we move from the how, or from the what to the how. And I think it was well demonstrated today in a very simple fact, and that fact is that the Islamic economy ecosystem is a broad ecosystem. It is not limited to one particular pillar. And this is what we have seen discussed throughout the summit, throughout the various sessions. His Royal Highness in the conversation before this panel also alluded to the fact, for example, that Islamic finance should be fueling the development, of the real economy and the real sectors. So we have created the platform, using the Global Islamic Economy Summit, of course, in partnership with Dubai Chamber and Thomson Reuters to do that. And another aspect is that when His Highness launched the strategy of Dubai, the capital Islamic economy, in 2013, I believe the world was always talking about a particular sector more than others. The world was very much focused on Islamic finance and what are the key developments that could take place, what are the opportunities within the sector. But we have seen various jurisdictions and entities now grasp and absorb opportunities that are there also in the other sectors of the Islamic economy. And certainly, I think reports such as the State of the Global Islamic Economy that was issued shed light on those pillars. And another particular, I think, aspect of the summit this year, which was important, was to focus on the area of innovation. And how can innovation be applied in these various sectors? How can we use innovation to improve these opportunities and products and services?
And we will come on and talk about innovation because, of course, two big pieces were the Islamic Innovation Awards and Innovation for Impact, which we will talk about in just a second. Nadeem, though, let me put the same question to you. Do you think the summit met the how objective in your view?
Yes, absolutely. And I think there's a big difference between 2013 and 2015. In 2013, this was an introduction, sort of, to a new economy, to a new concept. There was a lot of education going on in terms of what it is, what can we do with this, how useful is it, which has changed significantly in 2015. We've gone into a lot of discussions of how we're going to do this, what are the issues that are hanging in there, what are even controversial issues. You highlighted a lot of these headlines in the newspapers. It's great to see, for us also as the history of the news agency with Reuters and the existing one, it's great to see controversial issues being put on the table because that's the only way you can deal with these things. So for me, that headline alone makes the how element of things. It's how we take this forward that's going to be the very important issue. But on the highlights also, I know you're going to talk about innovation, but for me, honestly, and it links up to the how element, the highlight for me was the Innovation Awards, the Innovation for Impact. Because everything we do, everything we're talking about remains nothing unless something concrete comes out of it. And the Innovation Awards and what the guys did in that respect really shows how they are developing things. And the link to innovation for me, I mean, we talked about the platform, which obviously is a platform, but I think we have a bigger responsibility, which is creating an environment that fosters innovation and not hinder it. And we can talk about that a bit later on standards, if you like, because that's one of the other highlights I felt, standardizations.
Yeah, and you talk about innovation, and we talk very specifically about digital innovation as well, I think, importantly. Actually, we'll talk about standardization in just a second and whether it's the right word to be using. But, Your Excellency, let me ask you, I've mentioned the first session with Mohammed Yunus. I've mentioned the banking panel, Islamic Innovation Award, Innovation for Impact. What stays with you most from this, if I can put you on the spot? Or maybe you shouldn't say, but...
No, I mean, we all saw that presentation. It was a fantastic way of describing. And one thing I like, he said, this is not only about Islamic economy. This is about the whole world economy. It's about people, about the humanity, etc., etc. And with all his three P's around people and profit and I don't know, environment or
Planet.
and or planet, as he put, which is about the environment, and the three zeros. But I just want to also highlight a few things around what was before and what happened last couple of days. If you recall, one thing very important for us was when we summarized the after the first summit, we said the issue of unification is important. That's around the standardization, about the regulations. The issue of information is important, and I was very pleased with the I think with the Salam Gateway that was launched yesterday, filling this gap, and the issue of innovation, which we start to focus more and more on it. Innovation is a big subject. Okay, did we do enough? I think we still have big rooms to fulfill, and but definitely we need to continue working around that. One thing is important, we need also to add the fact that maybe it was highlighted or touched here and there, but the issue of also reputation. And this is the reputation of not only Islamic economy, because you cannot talk about Islamic economy without talking about Islam. And the problem nowadays, Islam is really being, I would say, hammered in terms of image and brand with everything going on in the region. And this is where I believe through what we are trying to do over here of Islamic economy, and highlighting opportunities and the growth areas, focusing from the economic perspective. This is very important for us, and very important for the Muslims, very important for the world. And I will definitely take this as one of the important highlights, recommendations, going forwards with the Islamic economy.
And is that message getting through?
It's changing a reputation. It takes a long time. You can damage it in no time. And I believe this is a long journey that we'll need to work all on it together.
Abdullah, harmonization of standards, I know, is something that has been critical here. And I know, Nadim, you want to talk about standardization. Bringing all of these things together, that's what this is about. But what to do with them now as we move forward is critical.
Well, maybe me and Nadim will be using different terms, but I like particularly the term. I like particularly the term harmonization because, you see, to me, I think this is the goal. At the end of the day, we are. Why is this an important, part of the agenda? And as Hamad mentioned earlier, in the conclusion of the first summit, we did, listen to the main takeaway, which is we need to standardize as much as possible. And we have understood through our dialogue in the center with various jurisdictions, with various parties, and all of you, I believe, here in the audience will agree that today a full-fledged standard, a single standard across the world might not work because of the various different schools of thoughts that exists within the Sharia. And that has an impact on the products themselves and how the products are designed and how the services are designed and marketed. Why is harmonization therefore more achievable? Because in my opinion, harmonization is about trying to find what are the common grounds while still maintaining, those differences in the schools of thought. But what does it take to do that? It takes a good amount of interaction and dialogue, which I believe the summit has created. And from the first summit in 2013 until 2015, we tried to do that independently and directly as well, with jurisdictions across the globe. And I believe there is more now consensus that than there was in 2013 that we can harmonize, as much as possible. We can harmonize standards. We can try to identify what are the common grounds and links, and therefore, whoever is designing a product and service in a particular place could market their products easier in other jurisdictions. If the regulators come together.
Is Nadim, is standardization the right word? I know we've been talking harmonization. Is standardization the right word?
No, you'll be happy to know. In my view, we agree fully, actually,
yes.
Abdullah.
Okay,
you called it harmonization, which is great. I wanted to call it common understanding. We have to establish a common understanding of what are we talking about, basically, irrespective of what it is exactly. And we have to agree, and we have to create this environment where it is not, we should not create a box and say, this is where you play. Because that's a killer for innovation. If we want innovation, which is absolutely what we have to do, we cannot create this box. You also have to create transparency in the standardization. It's not about standards, it's about harmonization, but transparency. Everybody needs to know what they're getting into. What am I doing? Is this halal, acceptable, not acceptable? It can't be a hidden box in the background and somebody is going to tell you at some point whether this is okay or not. No, it has to be a lot more transparent. If you look at the Merriam-Webster definition of innovation, it says it's the introduction of something new, and it's something that deviates from established doctrine or practice.
So you can't standardize innovation.
By definition, if it's innovation that deviates from standard, then you can't make a standard and say you have to play in this box.
Yeah.
And I think we all agree that innovation is key to all of this. Yes.
Did you achieve, Abdullah, let me come back to you. Did you achieve your goal of engaging with SMEs? Or are we achieving that goal?
I believe we are achieving. I believe the correct term to use is we are achieving, and there is evidence of that. I mean, certainly within the summit this year, for example, the Innovation for Impact, competition that engaged with SMEs, with entrepreneurs to become creative, to become innovative in the areas of the Islamic economy, and that's the type of incentives I think that we need to engage with this vital sector of the economy. The Islamic Economy Award as well is an added incentive to the SME sector, which is also eligible to nominate themselves and apply. But throughout, I believe, the past period between the first summit and now, also we have seen practical initiatives on the ground by our stakeholders that stimulated engagement with SMEs. Incubation centers being set up, competitions as we saw this in this summit. And I am sure that going forward, we will see, as Nadeem mentioned earlier, we will see that how innovation is now driving also the thinking of these SMEs and entrepreneurs to introduce new products and services which are not available before in the Islamic economy.
Your Excellency, I guess my question to you is on the back of that, on the back of discourse with SMEs, should SMEs feel encouraged by what they heard from the chief executives of the Islamic banks who we had on this stage yesterday?
Definitely. I mean, one thing the SME is always looking for is opportunities and growth. And the fact, definitely, usually, they are more local than global or regional. And this is what we're trying to highlight. There are opportunities within the local economies, especially if we're talking about the region we are in, that can open more opportunities for the SMEs. And this is what we need to continue to working on. And in fact, as a chamber this afternoon, we launched aligning, or I would say integrating this Islamic economy with everything else we are doing in the emerging economies. We started with the reports in Africa, South and East. And this report is highlighting the opportunities for the African economies from the Islamic economy point of view. Of course, this, from our point of view, it will attract more investments, and these investments will benefit the businesses within these economies. I was actually, it's an easy fact, but it's a real fact. If you look just at Ethiopia, the Muslims in Ethiopia, more than 33 million. This is more than the Muslims in Saudi Arabia, the whole population in Saudi Arabia. This shows you how big is the Islamic economy if it will address in the right way in some of these Eastern and Southern African economy. In fact, we are expanding our research even to cover West Africa. But information is only one angle to it. As we said, maybe 2 years ago, even in this part of the world, we realized that a lot of things about Islamic economy is not well understood. In fact, sometimes it's misunderstood. And I believe we are in better stage over here, especially when it gets to Islamic finance. But when we go to certain economies, whether you're talking about Africa or CIS or Latin America, still I believe more things even about some of the mature understandings of Islamic finance and halal. It's still, it's not there yet. And this is what we're trying to work with and open more opportunities for our SMEs and their SMEs.
So we are still addressing part of the what, right?
The what will continue.
Yeah,
And,
it'll just be...
Again, I mean, if you want to address the whole world,
Yeah.
I mean, again, a simple example, sukuk. I totally agree. Maybe we understand it, but 90% of the world don't understand it. This is where we need to work even to work in the definition. But the how is a journey as well.
But if I may add, this is where I think innovation also come into place. And sukuk, let's take sukuk for example. I mean, one of the sessions, the awqaf session, yesterday, this is, in my opinion, how innovation plays a role, because I've been looking at the outcome of the sessions, and in this particular one, with regards to the awqaf yesterday, there were suggestions out there that one can consider. The concept, for example, of adopting awqaf sukuk, which again is a new idea out there to be explored, and maybe also that could be adopted, that creates a flexibility from the traditional use or meaning of the awqaf itself. And this is maybe what I wanted to touch on, is that innovation not only in terms of incentivizing through competitions, etc., but also this dialogue that have been created where new ideas can be grasped. And I believe there will be the report of the summit will have all of these recommendations or suggestions that were from the sessions for people to read.
Yeah.
And I think that's the true value add that we can also take away from the summit.
Nadeem, let's move it on to what's next. What do you do now after this successful summit? And I think we have three different perspectives here. Give us the Thomson Reuters perspective. I guess the Thomson Reuters being behind the mechanism, the processes moving this thing forward.
Okay, yeah. I think there's a lot to be done still, obviously, on the how. I think His Excellency mentioned the going outside of the region. Yes, there's a very good understanding now in this region. It's now time to take this global. We need to take this out and continue the education process, but the element of the how is there. It has to become global and go outside of simply the region. There's also, we're going to, as Abdullah was saying, there's going to be a report, the issues that come out and what's going to happen. What we don't want is to wait until next year's summit and rediscuss this and say, okay, this was interesting, let's find new topics. What we would love to do, but that's work in progress that we need to talk about with our partners, obviously, is take these issues, work on them throughout the year in smaller groups probably, to discuss this with academics, with whoever is thinking about these things, come up with real suggestions that can then be presented again in the next summit and going for, and it becomes a virtuous cycle of recommendations, new issues, discussions, recommendations, new issues, and so on. So it has to become a business as usual thing rather than a once a year event that highlights a few issues.
Abdullah, from your perspective, which again we've talked about harmonization of standards, but that's a big part of it. What is next? How do you make sure you keep this momentum going? How do you make sure that come next year, the next summit, you are in the right place and you are again addressing the issues that should be addressed?
Well, we are working on the basis of a plan that has been identified, obviously, back in 2013, and we will continue to do so. I mean, we are still implementing this plan, and it involves a series of initiatives that are being launched alongside our stakeholders, such as Dubai Chamber and Thomson Reuters and others as well, that will put the emphasis and accelerate, if I can use that word, the development of the Islamic economy sectors. And in us doing so, we are, yes, I mean, our strategy is to shape Dubai as the capital. However, other jurisdictions are benefiting because at the end of the day, Dubai is a central and well-connected city across the globe. And one of the underlying goals is to enhance, obviously, economic transactions and trade between this jurisdiction and others. So in us implementing these initiatives, there is value add that will be spilled over across the globe when it comes to the Islamic economy.
And from the Dubai Chamber's perspective, what is imperative for you now?
Again, the issue of Islamic economy is beyond Dubai. It's the whole world. And we believe that it's about time we take it to other parts of the world. I mentioned Africa, I mentioned CIS, Latin America. But one thing really of interest in the same study we published, when South Africa issued their sukuk, the sovereign sukuk, it was oversubscribed by 4 times. Most of the investors were from this part of the world, GCC. And I understand South Africa came just after a couple of other countries, Hong Kong and UK. And we believe that there can be more sukuk published even by non-Muslim countries to allow this important products and services to also have better understanding in not only Muslim countries but non-Muslim. So we hope to be able to also increase the understanding more, especially in countries that are non-Muslims. This year we had 3,500 people participate in our events from 85 countries. I hope that by next time we'll have more countries, especially the non-Muslim ones, to be present with us here. This way we can also raise more awareness about this very important subject and also address the issue of reputation and brands of Islam and Islamic economy. So it's a long journey. It will take time and it will take a lot of efforts, but we're all going to work for it.
Just a final question, which I'm just going to sort of throw up there and see what happens. But what would you add to the summit next year that we haven't had this year?
I would definitely love to see more and more innovation of products and services. I would say that.
Well, I believe, as I mentioned, the summit, we consider the summit as a platform not only to raise issues, but also to provide solutions. And recommendations. And I believe you asked what more can we expect out of the summit. We can expect solutions to these issues. Roundtables, focus groups that my colleague Nadeem here mentioned earlier is a perfect way to build up to that scenario where
solutions through innovations.
Through innovation, of course, of course.
There's our tagline for next year.
It is a perfect opportunity to engage with the industry, then present the solutions, in this platform, and the public and private sectors are privy to those solutions to take them forward. So,
and Nadeem,
building up on the innovation element, to be honest, I think I agree absolutely with what my colleagues were saying in terms of solutions and new innovation and solutions based on innovations. But I think innovation is very dear to me, and it's always the issue of this has to be an open field. You have to let people do things. And I think one of the things we should focus on going forward is making sure that people see that the Islamic economy, some people like to call it the ethical or moral economy and way of doing business, it's a choice, not a judgment. You cannot use it to judge people and say you're moral or immoral. And you cannot set up systems and practices and say that system or that practice is not good, it's immoral or unethical. It's not. Morality, ethics is a purely human characteristic. It's uniquely human. So we cannot create these systems and say, this is ethical and you have to go there. That stifles innovation completely. It has to be a choice. You have the choice to do it. We have to present this choice to people and say, this is how it works, and then let them get on with the innovation.
Okay. Your Excellency, I'd like to give you the final word, just to say a few words to our audience today.
I just want to thank everyone who's been here with us, all the participants, first of all, because they made this more fun, the speakers, the panelists, and definitely all the partners that we work with them. And I would like to invite everyone to come back to us next year we'll continue talking about this important subject, hopefully with more results, and also hopefully with a new theme. And we'll always continue to surprise you, let me say that.
Thank you very much indeed. Gentlemen, thank you very much to all of you, and thank you to you, the audience, as well.
Thank you.